Renting is throwing money away. You've heard that your entire life. Your parents said it. Your coworker said it. That person on social media with the new house definitely said it. But what if the math tells a completely different story? What if the people pushing you to buy are the same people who profit when you do? The real numbers behind homeownership are about to change how you see everything, and nobody's going to explain this the way I'm about to. There's a reason buying a home feels urgent. Society ties homeownership to success. If you rent at 35, people look at you different, like something is wrong, like you haven't figured life out yet. According to the National Association of Realtors, 88% of buyers say home ownership is part of the American dream. That number isn't an accident. The housing industry spends billions every year reinforcing that belief. And here's the pressure nobody talks about. When your rent goes up $200, everyone says, see, you should have bought. But nobody says that when property taxes jump. Nobody says that when the furnace dies and the repair costs $6,000. The conversation is rigged. You only hear the upside of buying and the downside of renting, never the reverse. So today, we're flipping the script. We're going to look at both sides with actual numbers, not feelings, not slogans, numbers. Most people think of a mortgage payment as one number. You buy a $350,000 house. You put $35,000 down. Your mortgage is $315,000 at 7% interest over 30 years. That monthly payment comes to about $2,100. Sounds manageable, right? But that $2,100 is just a loan. Now add property taxes. The national average is about 1.1% of the home's value. On a $350,000 house, that's roughly $320 a month. Then there's homeowners insurance. That averages around $170 a month nationally, and you haven't even touched maintenance yet. The general rule is 1% of the home's value per year in upkeep. That's another $290 a month set aside for things that break. The roof, the water heater, the plumbing, the driveway cracks, and this isn't optional. When something breaks in a home you own, you can't call a landlord. You are the landlord. So your real monthly housing cost isn't $2,100. It's closer to $2,880. Some estimates push it past $3,300 when you include HOA fees and unexpected repairs. Meanwhile, the average rent for a two-bedroom in most metro areas sits around $1,800. That's a $1,080 gap every single month. And that gap matters more than you think. Now here's where it gets painful. You bought that $350,000 house. You put down $35,000 you probably spent years saving. Your mortgage is $315,000 at 7% over 30 years. Your monthly payment is $2,100. Over 30 years, that's $2,100 times 360 payments. That equals $756,000 in total payments. You borrowed $315,000. You paid back $756,000. The difference, $441,000, is pure interest. But wait, remember the $35,000 down payment. Add that back. Now the house cost you $791,000 total out of pocket. Add in 30 years of property taxes at $320 a month. That's another $115,000. Add insurance at $170 a month for 30 years. That's $61,000. Add maintenance at $290 a month for 30 years. That's $104,000. Your grand total for a house listed at $350,000 is approximately $1,071,000. Let that sit for a moment. Over $1 million for a $350,000 house. Now let's say after 30 years, the house appreciated at the national average of about 3.5% per year. That $350,000 home is now worth roughly $980,000. That sounds great until you remember you spent $1,071,000 to own it. Your net gain after 30 years is negative $91,000. Now compare that to renting. If you rented at $1,800 a month and invested just $1,080, the monthly difference, into an index fund averaging 8% returns, After 30 years, you'd have approximately $1,490,000. One path cost you $91,000. The other bill's nearly $1, $5 million. On a $350,000 home with a 7% mortgage, you'll pay roughly $488,000 in interest alone, meaning the house actually cost you $838,000 before taxes, insurance, and repairs even touch it. That one sentence changes this entire conversation. So if the math is this clear, why does everyone push you to buy? Follow the money. When you take out a $315,000 mortgage, the bank collects $441,000 in interest over 30 years. That's more than the house itself. And here's the part that should make you angry. In the first 10 years of your mortgage, roughly 70% of every payment goes to interest, not equity, not ownership, interest. You pay $2,100 a month for a decade and barely own more than 15% of your home. The bank owns the rest. Real estate agents earn a commission of 5% to 6% on every sale. On a $350,000 home, that's up to $21,000. They don't get paid if you keep renting. Title companies, appraisers, home inspectors, mortgage brokers, everyone in the transaction gets a cut. The National Association of Realtors spent over $80 million on lobbying in the past decade. They fund campaigns. They shape policy. They make sure the narrative stays the same. Buy a home. It's the American dream. It's your biggest investment. But an investment that costs you more than it's worth isn't an investment. It's an expense disguised as a milestone. And the system is designed so you never run the numbers yourself. The objection you hear most is this: at least when you buy, you're building equity. When you rent, you get nothing. And that sounds logical, but it ignores three massive truths. First, equity is not liquid. If you have $80,000 in home equity and you lose your job tomorrow, you can't spend that equity on groceries. You'd have to sell the house or take out a loan against it. Second, equity builds painfully slow in the early years. After 10 years of payments on that $315,000 mortgage, you've only built about $47,000 in equity. You paid over $252,000 to get there. Third, renters can build wealth too. The key is investing the difference. Here's how to actually decide what's right for you. Step 1. Calculate your true monthly cost of buying, not just the mortgage. Include taxes, insurance, maintenance, and repairs. Use $3,000 as a realistic baseline for a $350,000 home. Step 2. Compare that to your current rent. If rent is $1,800 and buying costs $3,000, that's a $1,200 gap. Ask yourself, am I willing to invest that gap every month if I keep renting? Step 3. Use the 5-year rule. If you're not staying in the same home for at least 5 years, buying almost never makes sense. Closing costs alone can eat 3% to 5% of the home's value. The answer isn't always rent. The answer isn't always buy. The answer is run your own numbers. 2 people, both making $75,000 a year, both living in the same city, same expenses, same starting point. Person A buys a $350,000 home, puts down $35,000. Monthly cost with taxes, insurance, and maintenance comes to $2,880. After 10 years, Person A has paid about $346,000 total in housing costs. The home appreciated to roughly $490,000. They still owe about $268,000 on the mortgage. So their net equity is approximately $222,000, but they spent $346,000 to get there. Person B keeps renting at $1,800 a month. That's $1,080 less per month. Person B takes that $1,080 and invests it every single month into a broad market index fund averaging 8% returns. After 10 years, Person B's investment account has grown to approximately $198,000. But Person B also still has that original $35,000 that would have been the down payment. They invested it too. That $35,000 at 8% over 10 years grew to about $75,000. Person B's total wealth from housing savings, approximately $273,000. Person A has $222,000 in equity. Person B has $273,000 in liquid investments. Same paycheck, same decade, same city. The only difference, Person B ran the numbers, and that $273,000 is cash Person B can access tomorrow. Person A would have to sell their house to touch theirs. If you're renting right now, you're not behind. You're not failing. You've just been told a story by people who profit from your decision. Buying a home can be right for you, but only when the math works for your life, not their commission, not their quota, your life. This is not your fault. Nobody taught you this, but now you know. And knowing changes everything. You're not someone who blindly follows the crowd anymore. You're someone who runs the numbers first.